be joined now on the phone by Steve Smith, kind enough to take some time out of his busy NBA All-Star weekend up in Toronto to join us. Smitty, how is the Great White North this weekend, my friend?
Well, very, very cold, but obviously it's a celebration for the NBA here in Toronto. Happy for the city of Toronto to have the All-Star game hosted in the international city, so it should be fun.
Steve, what does it say about the Michigan State program that every player on this list was not just a great scorer, but also an outstanding leader in their own right?
Well, Rick, you got to look at the guy who heads Michigan State basketball. There's been so many phenomenal players, but Magic Johnson is the headliner. And he was the walking triple-double, and that's the way he played. And I know for myself speaking, I grew up idolizing Magic Johnson, so you wanted to do whatever Magic did. You watched him at the college level. You watched him at the pro level. I mean, he come up with 25 points, 15 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 steals, a block. So I think if you look at it and you look at our history and our records, all the guys on there did just more than one thing, like you said, pass, rebound, defend. Pretty much did it all, and I have to give a lot of credit to Magic Johnson leading that way.
Now, speaking of Magic, Tom Izzo famously called Draymond Green a, quote, poor man's Magic. Now, Day-Day's not so poor anymore, and you get to see him this weekend. He's now an NBA All-Star. But when you watch him in your role as an NBA analyst, how much does Draymond remind you of Magic?
Well, so much, and I think that's another step, just a credit to Magic. You know, we all wanted to be vocal, all wanted to be leaders. And, Rick, you saw Draymond since his first day he stepped on campus. Just a guy played to win, and great for him. He got a chance to be with this unbelievable group of guys. They all fit. They have fantastic talent. But I think more importantly, they have fantastic chemistry. He's just one of those guys, people talked about his size when he came out getting drafted, and I think that's the reason why he dropped to the second round. But he's getting the last laugh right now. You're talking about a guy that's an all-star, and, in the top 12, top 15 guys that they're mentioned as an MVP, and easily could have won Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA last year.
Continuing our chat here with Michigan State legend Steve Smith, part of MSU's all-time starting five. Steve, you know so well, this is such an awfully tough list to limit to just 5 names. When you think of the guys who didn't make the cut, like Greg Kelser, Morris Peterson, all-time leading scorer Sean Respert, if I could give you the opportunity to add a 6th man to the team, who would it be?
Well, I think it would obviously great names. You also have to throw in Johnny Green. We going way back, but there's so many guys well-deserving. But I would have to say the guy who inspired me the most, the guy who I thought did a phenomenal job with Magic, I would go Greg Kelser. But you're right. I mean, Sean Respert, easily all-time leading scorer. And then you have Morris Peterson, what he did at the college level. But I would say 6th man and Gregory Kelser. And, Greg is one of those guys that because of what he's done and being a mentor to me, I would take my role off, Rick. I would let Greg Kelser start, and I would come off the bench.
That does not surprise me one bit to hear you say that. Steve, what's your lasting memory of your time in East Lansing?
Well, I think the one thing, Rick, the lasting memories is so many guys that I have so many great relationships with. And then I had the fortunate enough to play for Judd Heathcote and Tom Izzo. We had a coaching staff of Brian Gregory and Stan Joplin, Herb Williams, and Tom Crean. But I think the one thing is I look at the relationships, and I can attest to this, and not bragging because we're Michigan State and I'm a Spartan, but if you watch so many guys come back, and that's just a tribute to Magic Johnson, who was a guy who always came back, Greg Kelser, Scott Skiles, and everybody, and then you go with the Mateen Cleaves and Morris Peterson, the Flintstones in my era. And if you ever get a chance to go to the Final Four, which I know you see, Rick, I mean, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of former players supporting Michigan State basketball. So that's what's special to me, the family atmosphere we have. Tom Izzo, Judd Heathcote, led by those guys, but it's just a great family we have. And Spartans has done well in the last couple of years.
Lastly, Steve, on that family note, you've been a huge supporter of Michigan State athletics and Michigan State University as a whole since you left. Why has it been so important for you to give back?
Well, I think it starts off with my family tradition, Rick, but I think also, I was one of the first to come back and give a large donation back to Michigan State University, and then Spartans jump on board. You have Magic Johnson, you have Flozell Adams, you have Draymond Green, so many guys. We just had that in us where, you want to go back and give back, and I think that's why the program has been so successful. And a lot of guys wasn't highly recruited. but always end up at the top of the chart, the cream of the crop. And I just think that's the character and what you learn from Michigan State, and also what type of guys they recruit.
One of the all-time great players in Michigan State history, one of the all-time good guys in all of sports, Steve Smith, kind enough to join us today on BTN Live. Smitty, always great to catch up, my friend. Enjoy the weekend up in Toronto.
I appreciate it, Rick. Thank you.